Hey everybody, welcome back to the Major League Gaming Heart of the Storm exhibition matches. Crank so far has defeated 3 opponents, 1 of each race, Cats, Lomo, and then the mighty Rotterdam even fell to him. His 4th opponent is going to be another Protoss by the name of Krolu, currently ranked 20 on the Heart of the Storm Grandmaster ladder. Let's see if he can put up a fight against Crank, who seems to be unstoppable right now.
Yeah, but this is PvP, and PvP is actually one of the coolest evolving matchups in Heart of the Swarm that we've actually seen. I think it is becoming rapidly my favorite mirror, which usually I would never say because I'm a die-hard Terran versus Terran fan. I love casting that, I love watching it. I hate playing it because I'm terrible, but I love watching it. But PvP now has so many cool options. It does. I mean, the Phoenixes are stronger. The Mothership allows for you to do a much more economically focused builds because of that photon overcharge. And also it gives high ground vision for things like the blink play. You mentioned Crank loves that 4-gate blink. And of course, I mean, the Robo hasn't changed that much, but it's still like your standard staple build. It's still totally viable. Yeah, there's some pretty wonderful things going on with the Protoss at the moment in this, quite frankly. So we'll see how that turns out. But in PvP, I mean, what I've seen from Crank in Heart of the Swarm for PvP is pretty limited. Like, he generally will rely on a lot of Blink Stalker Micro because he's got great control in that regard. And matches that go on longer than that tend to just get really, really weird because suddenly everyone's like, huh, PvP's not supposed to go on this long. Should I be going Colossus? Oh, I can't do that anymore because that actually can get crushed by Tempest. So instead of being Colossus versus Colossus Wars, it can actually turn into Colossus v Tempest, and whoever goes Tempest can win there, but then you can have a transition back to Blink Stalker. It gets crazy, and that's cool. You know, I like that it gets crazy. I like that it's not predictable. But PvP is definitely not Crank's strongest matchup. He's known as a PvZ sniper for a very good reason. So we'll see how he does with this. Krolu obviously is very experienced. No, rank 20 in Grandmaster and HoTS is nothing to be sniffed at. And there are some players in the West right now that are just playing a ton of HoTS, and there's not a lot of Koreans that are. So it's a bit of an equalizer going on. It is. I think that a lot of that's just because of the current tournament scene. There's still things, you know, there's a GSL, there's a Pro League, there's GSL starting soon. Absolutely. All these Korean tournaments, they're all still in Wings of Liberty. Yeah. Whereas on the West, you know, the last tournament was, I think, the last big one was Home Story Cup, right? Or well, that, yeah. There's IPL, NESL, Home Story Cup. Those all, you know, the last MLG of last year. And there's a little bit of a break, and so they're like, well, we're on break. Let's play the new game because, you know, well, it's going to be the new game eventually, right? So why not get a head start on that? Well, especially since MLG have stated that they will be using Heart of the Swarm. So that's going to be the first big tournament for that. And that's always a place where Americans can make deep runs in the bracket. Also Europeans, of course. So we'll see what kind of format they decide to go for and whether or not that ends up coming into play. And I'm interested to see what ends up working out there. IPL, of course, going for, I believe, Wings of Liberty and a Heart of the Swarm exhibition, but there are plenty of excuses for foreigners to be playing HoTS right now, whereas there are very few reasons to be actively playing an awful lot of Wings of Liberty, unless, of course, you're qualified for something like IEM. And we're seeing the guys obviously fighting it out right now over in Poland in an excellent performance. But all of these other guys sitting at home saying, hey, I'll play a bit of HoTS, and I'm going to develop some new strategies, and this is not a game that's been fully figured out yet. It is. So it's also, you know, it's very exciting, I think, especially for some of the American players, because it represents almost their best chance to beat the top Koreans. Yes. They use this time to develop, get ahead in, like, the strategies and figure out exactly all the new Heart of the Storm units and the ways you can use them. They might have a little bit of a lead on the Korean scene. For a short time, anyway. Very short time, probably, given the Korean practice regimen. All right, so Krolu looks very much like he's going 3 or 4-gate blink on one base with the Mothership core. This is the build that we were talking about. Crank likes it a lot, but it's also a very popular ladder build in Heart of the Swarm in this matchup and in actually quite a few matchups with Protoss because it is a very strong build. Now, unfortunately for Crank, what he's going to do here is he's kind of wandering right past the position where this proxy is going to be, but he can actually hit before this goes in. And in fact, Krolu's actually now going to build a Dark Templar Shrine, which is a very, very interesting move, because I would have expected him to be dedicating fully to a Blink play, but he's not. He's actually using he's using it to actually get a Shrine. But honestly, this actually hit right before the gateways came out, and Crank just wanders right up the ramp And down goes a Time Warp, but he wanders out of that without too much of a problem. And suddenly, there's 5 Stalkers in Krolu's base, and he's going to have to respond to this pretty quickly.
Krolu was just about 3 energy short of having a Photon Overcharge ability. The timing there was just so close. Oh, look at that Time Warp by Crank. Beautifully placed to really interfere with Krolu's ability to get these units out and engage his Stalkers.
The Artosis pylon, it knocks down all of the warp gates. There is no warping in happening at all. Another pylon shut down. There are no active warp gates on the field for Krolu right now. This is a really awful situation to be in. Oh, there we go. He's managed to... Has he powered one? Maybe. Yeah, there we go. It looks like he's got another one powered up, but I think he wants to get DTs out to try and drive this away, but I don't think he can even do it fast enough. Warping in 1 DT right now. Second DT coming in. There is no detection method, of course.
Warping in 2 DTs at his home front. I feel maybe... Oh, he didn't have a proxy pylon. That explains it. I would say normally you want to warp in at least 1 to make sure you can critically damage your opponent, because even if this Dark Templar clears up this attack, he's going to be extremely crippled by it in any case.
Yeah, certainly. So, you know, this is difficult to deal with. It was a good response. It was really what he kind of needed to do, but I don't think he actually can do enough damage to make this work. Oh, nice surround there by Krolu, completely catching Crank's Stalkers here, but I don't think it's enough probes to actually completely crush this, and even if damage is done, it's 6 probes versus 27.
The question is will there still be 27 after this Dark Templar is done? You know, there's no detection here at all.
Nope, not at all.
Yeah, he can try to build a cannon. Dark Templar will cancel that. His robotics is 3/4 done. If Dark Templar notices that, it could actually go for the pylons. This could be a Krolu victory if he's quick enough and noticing where that robotics facility is placed.
Yeah, but he hasn't done it yet. He's working on other things, which is probably not the best idea. Frank's bringing his probes back. He can actually mine at the natural here with a photon cannon going down at that natural. Things are going to be nice and safe there. And this observer's going to go up by the looks of it. He's trying to shut the pylon down, which is a really smart move, but he can't do it in time. The observer's coming out.
A couple slices too late. If he was able to get that pylon, that probably would have meant he could have taken out the entire main base. Unfortunately, now that observer's there. But wait, does Crank have any units, or has he lost them all?
Crank actually has no units.
His gateways are unpowered.
Oh, this is such a great move here by Krolu to do this. It really, really is. He's going to force Crank essentially to build more gateways because, of course, those gateways are unpowered. Another pylon is coming down, but that's going to be shut down by the TTs. This is a brilliant move right here by Krolu, who manages to stay in the game with 5 probes and 2 DTs. But unfortunately, the gateways are going to come up at that natural, and there's no way for Krolu to stop them.
There isn't, but if he can kill enough of the main first, this game might get into this weird situation. Let's check out the economy. Crank still has so many more workers, so even if he loses in his higher main base,
the economic... one Stalker, though.
Oh, the one Stalker. It might be at a... Oh, and there's no Cybernetics core. He killed... So Crank can only warp in Zealots. The Stalker could micro and keep stutter stepping backwards. Perhaps an event to kill enough probes to again equalize the situation.
This could actually work. Like, if you can believe that, this could actually end up working. As you can see, Krolu needs to micro his heart out to make this work. But he can do it, and Krolu is fighting so well here. Great decision-making here by Krolu. And now he's going to morph the DTs into an Archon, actually, to fight against the Zealots. Great move.
I like that. He realizes now that there is an Observer out, so he might as well morph from an Archon. Maybe he should have tried to kill the Nexus first at the main, or I guess he was just really desperate to kill this Photon Cannon to be able to continue this Stalker harass.
Yeah, a Mothership Core is coming out for Crank, though. This could be problematic. A Photon Overcharge would be a good way to drive this away here. Trying to move in, but of course, Zealots versus Archon really only ever goes one way, but it looks like a Cyber Core has now been built, and this may very well be the end for Krolu here. We've got Blink Stalkers now on the field for Crank, and that should allow him to deal with this Archon. And unfortunately, while that was an amazing run here by Krolu, he is still struggling. He's up to 13 probes now. He's reestablished his main. He has decent tech, but he's obviously going to struggle from this position. Not impossible, though. You know, he's definitely not out of the game yet, and if Crank doesn't move that Mothership Core, he's going to die.
Stalkers are going after. It's trying to run away into the red. It does barely manage to escape. The Archon's coming back, but the Archon has very low life. He's got to be careful.
Yep, it's going to get tickled, and then it's going to go down. Just a couple of swipes there from the Zealot would do the job. Nice save on the Mothership Core there by Crank. Another Stalker going down here, trying his best to micro. He's still going to deal with a Stompy Archer. Down it goes, and now it's going to be very difficult for Krolu to do any damage. But Krolu is still way behind. Oh, Zealot's going in to finish Krolu off onto the main base here. Warping comes in, more damage being done, down at 10 probes. It's now, of course, 2 Zealots versus 2. Can Krolu out micro Crank here with the use of a probes? He certainly could. A nice surround there. He shuts that down. So Krolu refusing to go out of the game, and rightfully so. He's still in it, but he's now in a tricky spot.
He is, and 1 base to 2 down a significant number of probes. In fact, 12 to 23. He tried to go for the whole base kill there. Didn't work out. Crank showed amazing reaction to Dark Templar there. I mean, like he got Krolu to focus his entire attention on the main base while he got those cannons up in a natural. And then once the cannons are up there, he's able to get the mining going and utilize that probe advantage.
It was good crisis management from Crank, but I've got to say, I'm really impressed with the decision-making there of his opponent. That was exceptional. It really was. He played really, really well considering his situation there, so that was really impressive. I had a lot of fun casting that one. That was pretty touch and go for a while.
It was. That was, I mean, imagine if he had enough money to warp in 2 Dark Templar or 3 instead of 2, right? Or if you had the proxy pylon, so the Dark Templar would have been at the main, you know, like a minute earlier.
Much sooner,
it could have gone so many different ways there. Or even if the Mothership Core had enough energy for the Photon Overcharge, which would have bought more time, right? There's so many different ways these games can go. And it just shows you. You said how PvP is becoming your favorite matchup in Heart of the Storm, and that game was really fun. Yes.
When was the last PvP you saw in Wings of Liberty that went like that? You know, generally speaking, they don't. They all play out in a fairly similar way. So that was a really cool game, and I think that demonstrates how cool a matchup PvP really is in this game.
It definitely does. I'm actually. At first, I was worried about putting 2 Protosses in a row versus Crank because of PvP, but you know it's working out great. We'll get a different race in for next King Bill. Crank on 4 wins, 1 more win, and he'll get I think it's $50 for 5 wins, and of course he can continue there for us to try to get the longest streak and even get more money later down the road. We'll take a quick break and be right back with Crank's next match.